we're gonna move on to our classic movie, which is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes.
Ivan, would you like to go ahead and talk about? I guess for anyone, I'm sure most people probably read this book in middle school or high school. I read it in high school, but give a little bit of background for this movie, which is
Yeah.
it came out in 1962, I think.
Yeah,
Check.
62. So basically, the movie's about this family living in the 1930s, and it's Atticus, the father, and also a lawyer, Jem, and Scout. And Jem is Atticus' son, and Scout is Atticus' daughter. And basically, in a nutshell, Atticus is defending a black male in a rape case, and he's kind of being shunned by the whole town because of it. And those children have to experience the eyes of racism, like through their own family. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what it is. I thought this movie was pretty good. I thought it was like fine. I didn't love it. I thought it was like a really good, like fine movie. Jackson, what did you think?
Okay, well, I have a pretty, I wouldn't say deep connection to this story, but like it goes back quite a few years because I read this book in high school, and
Yeah, see, I didn't read the book,
like,
so I have no like
okay,
literary knowledge.
okay, so yeah, so I guess you probably don't know about as much as I do, but it was just okay. So it was like I read the book in high school, and like it was written by Harper Lee. She hasn't written any other books but this. Well, she did. Okay, there's a little bit of a aside here, but there was a sequel to this book that wasn't really a sequel that came out a few years ago. It was terrible. She was poor old woman who got taken advantage of, and they basically released a sequel to this just to make money. It was really disgraceful. But anyway, so Harper Lee wrote this book back in I think it was around the time the movie came out.
I will look. I
Let
mean,
me take a look.
I can do it real fast right now. Actually, I have
Let
it.
me see.
I have
It
it on my Google.
was 1960. So yeah, very close. I
Okay.
mean, this movie came out. This movie came out like 2 years after the book came out, which was pretty rare, I think, for back then, honestly, because things took a lot longer back then. Like movies took a lot longer to make, and uh, usually a book that had just come out usually wouldn't receive like a movie adaptation that quickly. But this book was such a big deal, and people just loved it, and it's been a classic for so many years. But basically, yeah, I read the book a long time ago and really really loved it. The book, as well as the narration of this movie, is told through the perspective of a adult scout, but she's reflecting back on her childhood. And I think essentially this movie really does capture, I think, really well what the book was about. And the book really had two main themes. One was childhood, and the movie captures that extremely well. There's so many scenes in this movie that really do feel just like childhood, like, and they're not even necessarily told from a like they are told from an adult's point of view, but they're like told from an adult's point of view through the eyes of a child, through like what a child does experience, and not like what an adult like interprets it as. Um, so the book did a really good job of that. And then so the other main theme, of course, is racism and just prejudice in general, and the whole theme of you don't kill a mockingbird because they're not harming anyone. And so the book sort of had those two facets to it: is this childhood story about kids, but also sort of this adult story about Atticus and him defending this black man. And so the movie does a really good job of capturing, I think, the book's spirit and the book's overall themes. What's great about it is it's like every single scene tells you something different about these characters and about this town in Alabama. Like there's a scene where Atticus has to shoot a dog, and it's kind of it's sort of it's a little it gives you some feels. It sort of shows you that he's a good guy and he doesn't want to hurt anybody, and the different conversations he has with Scout, telling her to basically look the other way, not seek vengeance on people, and the way he sort of teaches her to like try to understand other people's points of view. Every scene and every like conversation they have really does cement him as just a great character, and really makes you care about these characters a lot, and you get really attached to all of them really well. So I think overall the movie captures so much of just like what the book had that was great. But also as a film made in 1960s, it's it's I think very well shot, and the locations I think it's a mixture of locations and sets. I'm not entirely sure, but it all looks really good, and the child actors are great.
Oh yeah,
The,
definitely.
I mean, their accents aren't always the best, but I mean, it was 1962, so like people in Hollywood didn't really care about all that historical accuracy stuff back then as much. But great child actors. Gregory Peck is freaking phenomenal as Atticus. I mean, he's
Oh yeah,
just
no, he was great.
he just gives such a great performance and really just captures like that character in the moment so well. Um, and then I think the courtroom scene, uh, it's an extensive sequence in this movie. It's what would you say 20-30 minutes long? Like it's pretty
Yeah, I
long.
thought that was like the best part of the movie. Like that.
Yeah,
I'll say
it's
this when I was
great.
watching it. Some scenes in this movie, like the childhood scenes, the first act of the movie wasn't my favorite out of
It's
the
a
whole
little
thing.
slow. It's a little slow.
But like as soon as the courtroom scenes hit, those that definitely put the movie on like a higher position than it was on for me.
Yeah. Well, the childhood scenes are important because they do give you the context of this town. And if you just went straight into the court scene, like, yeah, those are the best parts of the movie. But I think that the childhood scenes, they definitely like really like let you breathe in this world. And it's sort of like we were talking about with Ready Player One, on our
Yeah.
last stream. Is it's good. I like when movies will sort of throw you into a setting, and they will kind of let you breathe a little bit and sort of get to know the characters and get to know the world. Like it makes you feel a lot closer to like what's happening and form more of a personal connection to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, like I remember watching it and thinking like even though I didn't like the childhood things that much, it was very relatable. Like being little, like being out of town. I'm not out of town. Well, I mean, I guess yeah, neighborhood, and just
Yeah,
like meeting other
neighborhood.
people like in your neighborhood. And obviously, this doesn't happen anymore because I'm 21 years old. But
Oh yeah,
I remember that. And then also the conversation with the scout and Atticus, like on the rocking chair, not rocking chair, but like the swing chair, was like very deep and personal to like their relationship in the movie because she basically was like fighting people at school, and then Atticus was like talking to her, like trying to comfort her about that. And it just shows like you said, like he's a good guy. He's trying to do the right thing at all times. But the thing I didn't like, the biggest thing was that I felt there was like nothing like artistically done in the movie. Like there's no art in the camera movement. There's no like art in like angles of shots and like
I felt like there kind of was in some of the scenes where the kids are scared and they sort of present it in this way that feels very much like a kid's point of view of something scary that's happening.
yeah, I don't know. I just like felt like it was like the same thing when like people are having conversations. It's like shot, reverse shot.
Yeah, I could see where you could definitely make that case. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought the cinematography was pretty good, but granted,
Oh, it
yeah,
wasn't bad.
it's nothing. I mean, yeah, like it's nothing.
Spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a different time period too. They definitely didn't know as much back 50 years ago or 55 years ago. Like, um, camera work was generally a little more simple back then. But also, you had stuff like Citizen Kane too. So I mean, that's not really an
Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah, you have like Citizen Kane and also Path of Glory, which has like amazing like war sequences. So I wasn't gonna like say that's an excuse.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. I agree with you. And now you point it out, I do kind of think that's definitely not really a problem with the movie, but it definitely doesn't make it a perfect movie from a technical sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't really have that many issues with this movie at all. I mean, I agree with you on the camera work is nothing special, and it's certainly fairly basic on a technical level. But other than that, like, I didn't really have any issues with the movie at all because it perfectly translated to me, film wise, what I wanted to see from the book. And there's a couple details in the movie that are slightly different from the book, but that's just for pacing purposes to make it more
I have
like
a
a
question
movie.
actually.
Okay.
So you read the book.
Yeah.
Was there anything in the book that wasn't in the movie that could have been helpful?
Anything that was in the book that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, okay, like I said, it's been quite a few years. It's been, let me think. It's been about 6 years since I read it, but I'd say the only thing I really noticed, and it's been like 6 years, the only thing I really noticed that was like significant that was taken out of the movie, and this isn't really a spoiler because it's a 55-year-old story, but
Yeah.
uh, almost 60, or no, it is 60. Almost, yeah, almost. Anyway, the main thing that I noticed was missing, I guess, from the story was in the book after they find Tom Robinson guilty and he's taken to prison. Um, he's alive for a little longer. Like, okay, in the movie, he's found guilty and then he's like dead by the next scene.
Yeah.
In the book, it was more like he was taken to prison and he tried to escape and one of the guards shot him.
That makes sense though. Like why
Yeah,
they would leave
and
it out.
yeah, and that happens like maybe a chapter later, or chapter or two later. Whereas in the movie, it's like the night of, like right after the court case, he's dead. Like, um, but other than that, like I'm sure some of the early chapters that focus more on childhood, I'm sure some of that was taken out because, obviously for pacing stuff. I mean, it was already kind of slow in the beginning. Uh, but other than that, I think really like it was very accurate to the book.
All right.
Like pretty accurate to the point where like I don't think most movies that come out now are that accurate to the book. Um, Especially not in like tone and like I mean the movie very much felt like the characters from the book just jumping to life and like just a natural extension from the book. A lot of movies that come out now that are based on books change so many things and add in so many things to make it more epic or you know but this was, yeah, pretty much the book, honestly.
I mean that's pretty accurate then. If you're just saying like two things can be changed from it.
Yeah, and I'd have to like reread it again or read a plot synopsis of both of them side by side and maybe say there's a little bit of a difference. But as far as I can remember, and when it comes to books, I usually have a decent memory when it comes to like what I read. Um, Pretty close, honestly. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at an article about Ghost at a Watchmen, which is I think was the book you were talking about that came
Yeah,
after.
it was. I think Ghost
It
at a
sounds
Watchmen was.
really kind of. It sounds like not funny, but like interesting. Well, actually, kind of funny compared to like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Well, it's supposed to be her as an adult, and then like the childhood parts are like what she's like remembering. Basically, what I heard was that Harper Lee was like Ghost Rider Watchmen was the book she was trying to publish, but it was about like an adult scout, and Atticus was like a racist or something weird.
Which makes
But
no sense.
yeah, it makes no sense at all. But it was a different book at the time, so she decided the Atticus from Ghost Rider Watchmen is based more on her father, whereas the Atticus in To Kill a Mockingbird is more of like an idealized version of what she wanted the character to be. But yeah. So anyway, she was, I think, trying to publish Ghost Rider Watchmen, and she had some chapters in there that were like uh, flashbacks to childhood or whatever. And then the publisher was like, "Hey, you should just make a book about like the childhood parts because these are the best." And so she just made To Kill a Mockingbird about the childhood parts because like that was the part that they thought was the best part of the book.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought like, why would you make your main character racist when the whole point of The Kill a Mockingbird was that like he's a good guy?
Well, that's the thing though is Ghost Set a Watchmen was never supposed to be published. Harper Lee only wanted to publish To Kill a Mockingbird, but it was like her aides or her I don't think it was her family, but whoever was taking care of her like basically was like, "Well, we should publish this book that she has. It's done." And she was just, I mean, like senile pretty much. I mean, she was super old. This was only a few years back. So they pretty much took advantage of her and threw out a book that like ruins those amazing characters. And so I, through principle, have never bought that book. Will never read it. Like, no, like that completely ruins everything.
I kind of want to now just because.
Well, if you read either of them, read To Kill a Mockingbird at least first. I mean, because like that's such great literature, and the only book that she ever published, of course, other than Ghost of a Watchmen. But Yeah, not gonna read that. How are we on our timer?
We have to finish up this one now. So, what is your review of To Kill a Mockingbird?
Well, my rating would be probably a 9 out of 10, honestly, because I really had like no issues with this movie. But I was gonna give it a 10, and then you kind of brought up the fact that like the cinematography really isn't anything amazing, and that there were definitely better things out there at the time. And I guess that mixed with some of the like inaccurate like accents and stuff from the time.
Yeah,
Um, I think it evens out to like a very solid 9 for me.
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean that's still not bad.
Yeah, yeah, it's still good. 6 out of 10 is good, by the way.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Yeah,
Um, for me, it's just a very it's like like it's just a story that definitely like personally moves me a lot, and I think definitely just like that last like speech he gives in the courtroom like scene is just like gives me goosebumps every time I watch it.
yeah. No, I'm saying those courtroom scenes are like fantastic.
Absolutely.